Welcome to the Black Doctors Talk podcast. I am Dr. Christopher Holmes, host for this episode and member of the Black Doctoral Network. Today, I am joined by Dr. Calvin Nobles, who is a cybersecurity and human factors practitioner, professor, and author. Welcome, Dr. Calvin Nobles.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you, Dr. Holmes, for that nice opening and that welcome. And I look forward to this opportunity to share some experiences with you and the other members of the Black Doctors Talk podcast.
Well, I'm so excited to have you here. You have a wealth of knowledge and experience, and I can't wait for you to share with everyone. So first, I would like for you to start by telling our viewers and our listeners a little bit about your background. Where did it all begin for you?
Absolutely. So I'm from Georgia. I grew up in a small town called Mount Vernon, Georgia, and it's extremely small, probably a population well under 10,000, probably close to around 7,000, if that. And, you know, I always tease and tell people that we have a half a red light because most of the time it's functioning as a caution light. That's how small it is. So I grew up there. I grew up in a very poor family and very spiritual and religious family though. So I went to church every Sunday and sometime during the week and went to Sunday school every Sunday morning. So that's what really started from with me and how I really got started. Yep.
Awesome. So being from Georgia, I'm sure you have seen all types of things and now transitioning to where you are now. What has had a tremendous impact on you and your career field?
The biggest thing that I like to give credit to is my spirituality, my religious belief, and those who was in my neighborhood, my family, some of the men in my neighborhood, and particularly the late Mr. Eddie Wright was extremely important to me when I was coming up in the most critical time of my life and really put me on the path to join the military. And so that is how I got to where I am today. I was really surrounded by individuals who wanted me to do well, and they had made sure that I stayed on the right path so I can blossom into the individual that I am today.
Awesome. So what would you say is the key to having a fulfilled life?
I believe having a relationship with God, and I believe in having the drive, the determination, and realize that in order for you to achieve the many things that you want to achieve in your life, you have to reduce the amount of, the things that's not really going to have a return on an investment for you, and only engage in those things that's going to be able to help build you from a professional and a personal development aspect so you can have the success that you want in your life.
So as you talk about minimizing those things, you've been in your field for quite some time. Is there one thing you wish you would have known earlier in your career that you now know?
Absolutely. The one thing that I wish that I would have known 10 years ago, maybe 20 years ago, and that is that to understand the unwritten rules and to understand that, no matter where you work, you get two files. You get an HR file, and then you get what we call the hall file. In the hall file, that's what everybody else is saying about you that you don't know. And the HR file is where your manager actually puts your performance review and the other documentation about your employment. So understanding things like that, if I would have understood those things from the beginning, it would have changed some of the things that I would have done. For instance, now we know about emotional intelligence. Before, 15 years ago, emotional intelligence really didn't exist like it exists today. And so as I got older and matured and learned things like that and look back on my career, I'm always saying, if I would have known that then, I would be on a different trajectory now. Not that I'm not thankful for where I am today. I'm very grateful of that. But I just always think about, could I have had a different trajectory and things would have been better, or where I landed where I am today.
I love that. The HR file and the hall file. I'm going to remember that. I'll be stealing that from you. So I'm stealing it. What advice would you give someone who's wanting to pursue a career to cybersecurity or the human practitioner field?
Oh, my thing is, make sure you have a passion for it. A lot of people talk about cybersecurity, but cybersecurity is a blooming industry, a blooming field. It pays extremely well. But I would tell you, it comes with a lot of tasks. So make sure you understand the tasking that it comes with. It's a high stress field. It's a field where every day you're going to be pushed, you're going to be challenged, you're going to have to produce. And I don't know if some people know that from the start, but I tell people up front, this is one of those fields where, your adrenaline rush is there every day. And it's not as glamorous as you see it on TV. On TV, you see all those computer code and everything's changing color, the computer doing calculations. That's an application that the computer's running to assimilate what they're doing. We don't do that stuff for real. What we really do is the grueling work behind scenes to make sure that things are taken care of and our property and data is secured. So one thing I encourage all of you to do, if you want to get in cybersecurity, we really need more minorities, especially female in cybersecurity. Reach out to me, reach out to somebody else, start having those conversations early, because now what we can do is put you in the right courses in your high school if your high school is offering those courses. And the other part of my career is a human factors career. I really got in that field because I was a naval aviator. And because I was a naval aviator, I was exposed to human factors. And I just fell in love with it from day one. I went to this, when I was a young naval officer, I went to this laboratory out in Monterey, California. And it was a real lab, aircraft that's been in an accident. And we had to guess what happened to each aircraft. And there was 3 aircraft there, and I guessed every last one of them. And the professor was like, "How did you know?" I said, "Well, I'm the same age as the guys that were involved in the aircraft, so I know what I would do." So that's what they did. Mm-hmm. And so I just fell in love with the field, and I just never stopped, learning the field. Mm-hmm. And now I'm in cyber, and human factors is an emerging field in cyber. Mm-hmm. And so now my job is to help industry and help businesses understand how human factors can help us from having so many data breaches, cyber attack, and ransomware attacks.
Well, I think that's important. What you said is to ensure that, one, you're passionate about the work that you're doing. And I like the fact that you also talked about, if you want to get into this work, start young, because guess what? The passion is there in the beginning. So yes. We can tap into the passion when they're young. Oh my goodness. Just imagine where some of these young adults would be now if they just get into the field earlier versus somehow falling upon it or discovering once they get into college. So yeah, Absolutely. I think that's awesome. So you talked about cybersecurity, you talked about human factors. Why is the work that you do so critical?
Sure. So right now in 2021, research tells us that cybercrime is going to be a $6 trillion business. And cyber criminals are breaking into our networks every day. Every 39 seconds, there's a successful cyber attack. So what I'm trying to do right now as a human factors professional is help organizations design systems, processes, and engineering specifications so that we can prevent people from making errors. Because right now, let's think about it. I got 139 passwords for everything that I need to log in to at work and home. That's a lot of passwords. There's no way I'm going to remember all those passwords. So now we're thinking about how can we create systems that are passwordless so people don't have to remember all the passwords. For instance, I would love to walk up to my computer, hit my mouse like I did on this computer, and recognize my face as my biometrics, and bam, the system came on for me. So that's what we're really trying to take it, because companies can't keep paying the millions of dollars that they're paying for and sustain their growth and their profit. It's going to hurt the national economy as well as the international economy. And it's going to hurt us as employers, because that means they're not going to be able to employ as many people. So let's imagine a case like the Equifax breach. Well, there was millions and millions of cases where our social security information and our private data was exposed and exfiltrated from Equifax infrastructure. That cost them well over, the last time I stopped counting, was over $200 million. Can you imagine what that company could have done with that $200 million? Think about it also from supporting those at a disadvantage. They could have gave them at least, just arbitrarily speaking, 10 millions to those individuals in need. And that's why I think my work is so important. We got to stop the bleeding of our networks from being attacked, because right now it's unsustainable.
Wow. I'm just sitting here thinking about what you said about what those funds could be used for. And it takes me back to your previous answer, and we could funnel those funds into high schools or to college programs to support the education of these kids that are so passionate about this work. Once again, we could be in a totally different situation.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I'm all about kids learning to do this at an early age. Just to give you a hint to what we're up against, China has a military cybersecurity force well over 1 million people.
Wow.
So if you got 1 million cybersecurity professionals that's fully trained, imagine the amount of damage you can do. So from a national security aspect, as we are up for a huge challenge in the future.
Wow. So I'm sure there's all new information coming out all the time in these two fields. How do you stay abreast on current trends in your field?
That's a great question. One of the ways I stay abreast is I write the research. So
that'll do it.
So I write the research. Earlier this week, I was on a phone call with the authors that wrote the book, You Can't Stop Stupid, which is really about human factors. I was on a call also early in the week with a lady, a human factors expert from the UK. So I'm constantly interacting with people. I'm constantly writing the research. I did a podcast 2 weeks ago that's getting a lot of attention on LinkedIn. I did a podcast on Thursday that's going to be released tomorrow. So now that I'm really beginning to put a lot of this research out there, and I got people thinking differently about human factors in cybersecurity, my goal is to continue to lead the field in producing this research so that I can stay ahead of the game.
Yeah, awesome. That's awesome. So you've had a lot of big wins, I would say. You're a leader in this area. What would you consider, though, if we're going to contrast? What would you consider is your biggest failure, and what did you learn from it?
Absolutely. I love this area because we don't talk about this area enough. I mean, because people look at my LinkedIn profile and it was like, wow, this dude is stacked. That's not necessarily the case. I think everybody should have to develop what I call your failure resume. List everything that you failed. So my biggest failure is really not connecting with other people so that they can understand and have it and expose myself so they can see what Black men are capable of achieving. I haven't done a good enough job in doing that. I plan on doing a much better job going forward. I'm connecting with some people actually in my hometown, and we're looking to do some things because because I've been in the military away from my home, my family has not have not had the level of exposure to me, nor has the people back home. So I'm looking to connect with them and expose myself, making myself more vulnerable so they can learn from me.
I think what you spoke about too is the level of sacrifice it takes when you get into some of the things that we do in life, especially things that we're passionate about. We may not build those personal relationships, connections the way we want to. So there is this aspect of not feeling successful in all areas of your life. And that's just part of being a human.
Right.
So with that being said, what is your biggest accomplishment to date?
I would say my biggest accomplishment is able to complete 25 and a half years in the United States Navy and retiring as a naval officer.
Wow. And thank you for your service.
You're very welcome.
Wow. And here you are after 25 years of that, you walk into what you're doing now.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So what are some challenges you faced in your career after the Navy, and how did you overcome them?
Well, to be honest with you, I'm still overcoming them. And once, like some of the challenges I see, like for instance, when I talk human factors, a lot of the senior executives in these corporations don't understand me. And when I first started talking human factors publicly back around 2015, I was told that I was off my rocker. I was told that I was wishful thinking something that didn't really exist. And then, Lord and behold, it came true. I mean, it wasn't that I didn't know what I was doing. It was just that trying to convince people that these problems are real, because when you build very complex computer network infrastructure and you don't look at it from a human factors aspect, you can expect trouble. So the biggest challenge is really trying to convince people early on that this was a real issue. And now look what we're up against. We're up against the fact that every 39 seconds there's a successful cyber attack.
Yes, and it's on the news all the time.
Absolutely.
Do you think that it's so popular on the news that people are a little bit immune to it?
Absolutely. That's called data breach fatigue. And so because we get exposed to it so much, it becomes common to us. And when things become common to us, we have a tendency to become complacent towards them, or we have a tendency to tune those things out. And in fact, what we should be doing is thinking about, my data is out there, my privacy is out there. How do I do a better job of protecting my personal information, protecting my identities, protecting my kids' identities, protecting our parents' identity? Because at the end of the day, what it comes down to is that data is the #1 currency in the world right now. It's not money. The government can trace money, but what they can't trace is data.
Wow. Wow, that's tweetable. You need to tweet that. That's powerful. All right, next question. So what inspires you? I know you talked about some challenges and maybe people don't take the data breaching as seriously as they need to. So what continues to drive you?
I'm every day when I get up, I'm looking for that next challenge. I'm looking for a way to help. And one thing that I realized is that I accomplished a lot of things in my life, and now it's time for me to start mentoring, guiding, and coaching others. So that's what inspires me. Like before I got on the call with you, I'm working with a doctoral student. She's not my student, but she's studying human factors. And she said, hey, she sent me a text this morning, Dr. Nobles, I found your research. I think it's fabulous. I'm using it in my literature review. So things like that, inspire me to do more.
Wow.
And so that's what I'm trying to do. I'm really trying to do more, not just professionally, but also for personal development and also building better relationships with other people.
Wow, that's awesome. So at this point in your life, how do you define success?
I love this question because often we allow other people to determine what our success should be. And so just to make myself vulnerable and to share with others, currently, I just exposed myself a little. In January, I defended my dissertation in human factors. In April, I defend my dissertation for a doctorate in business administration at Temple University. So I was doing 2 doctoral programs at one time with two different dissertations on 2 total different subjects. And someone told me I couldn't do it. And it wasn't that I challenged I accepted the challenge. It's not that at all. But what I really wanted to do was to show people you can push yourself. You can really push yourself, because sometimes we let other people define us. And by letting other people define you, you might not ever define or be able to achieve the success that you set out to. So the message is your success is defined by you. It's not defined by your neighbors. It's not defined by your coworkers. It's not defined by those that always want to have a say in your life. It's really defined by you.
So what is that skill? So what is that skill you just talked about that you have to have in order to help you be successful?
4 years ago, I would have said motivation. Until I read a book that said that motivation is, there's no motivation that gets you halfway there. And that one thing that I really found out that really helped me get to the finish line is having a passion for what I'm doing. Like if I don't enjoy doing something, I won't do it.
Wow.
I only do the things that I enjoy doing that to help me develop from a professional aspect and also from a personal development aspect.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. So what are you most proud of in your career?
I would say the fact that, I was able to spend 26 years in the Navy. I've done some great things in the Navy. I had a beautiful naval career, and I worked with some really smart people that made me smart, that made me better. And so that's what I'm the most proud of, serving with the people of this nation, the young people the young people that come in the military, especially, come in the Navy. But I did a lot of joint assignments. So I worked with the Marines, the Army, the Air Force, you name it. I was there. And I'm proud of the parents who entrusted me as a senior military officer with their kids' life. That's what I'm the most proud of, that they trusted me to lead their sons and daughters in harm's way on numerous occasions.
So in talking with you, there's a theme that runs through your life. That one thing would be passion, but there is a strong theme of service and servitude. And I would say that is strongly linked to your faith. Would you agree?
Absolutely. One of my mentors, and I met him several years ago when I was a young lieutenant, and I was at a conference down in Quantico, Virginia. I was in the National Naval Officers Association conference. I want to say it was 2006, because I just returned from Iraq. Might have been earlier, but I was at a conference, and there was a gentleman by the name of, at the time, it was Admiral Barry Black. Now he's Dr. Barry Black, and he happens to be the chaplain of the U.S. Senate. And I heard him speak, and he had a very impressive resume. 5 master's degrees, 2 PhDs, and he was phenomenal. The first Black to be the chief of the chaplain corps for the United States Navy, the first Black to be the chaplain of the U.S. Senate. And just hearing him talk and hearing his struggles, because he's from the inner city of Baltimore. So he didn't have a silver spoon in his mouth. And hearing him talk, and he talked about how he progressed through his Navy career. And one of the things he said, I never wasted time on things that was not going to move me to the right. He said while he was in the Navy, he always was taking courses for the next degree to become a better person. And because of that, I kind of adopted that process, because at the time, I'll be honest with you, I was a Navy lieutenant, I was a naval aviator, I was living a life, I was arrogant. And then hearing him gave me the energy and the drive and the ability to start, envisioning what's next for Calvin. And Lord and behold, I started doing a PhD program.
Wow.
And the reason I got in the PhD program was because the Navy was doing a pilot study and to see about officers pursuing PhDs. And I didn't really want, at the time, I didn't want to do the PhD. And then I'll be honest with you, I was kind of directed to do it. And so that's how I got it.
Wow. So what is your next goal professionally? And what are the steps in your mind that you're currently thinking of getting there?
My next goal is to continue to lead the human factors research effort in the United States, and also to branch out with other countries, like some of the human factors specialists over in the UK and Australia and Canada. They do a much better job at integrating human factors in cyber. So working with them to leverage their research, also to produce my own research like I have been doing, and to help us integrate this into corporate, into the government spaces, so that we can stop some of the bleeding.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, you're definitely needed. The work that you do is critical, and we appreciate your passion. I can't see you stopping this in the next 10, 15 years. You seem like you're going to just change the game for this whole area, especially human factors, because this is something new you're stepping into. So I look forward to reading all of the literature you're going to write and all the research that's going to help us in this country do better things for its citizens and for these businesses. So how has your affiliation with the Black Doctoral Network enhanced your career?
Oh, tremendously. In fact, several of my fellow doctors that I met at the Black Doctoral Network, we collaborate every day. Sometimes 1 o'clock at night, we're talking about research. We're talking about assisting other minorities in those that are trying to get doctorate degrees. Also motivating other Blacks to pursue a doctorate degree, because the one thing that we see many other candidates who are mediocre at best, and then we know it's a struggle for us to get to the finish line to get the doctorate degree. A lot of us, we don't get there due to attrition for whatever reasons. And our goal is to network not only with the Black Doctorals Network, but network on social media platforms, just reaching out. Because when I see somebody saying that they're struggling on a social media platform, I reach out to them. So far, I have saved 2 people who was getting ready to drop out of their doctoral program that actually finished their doctoral program. And so it's personal for me because I want to make sure that we all get to the finish line. As well as, you've been there, you've done that. It's not an easy process.
No.
And investing in a doctoral program and getting to the point that you don't complete your dissertation phase is like paying for a car and leaving it on the car lot, not driving it home.
Yeah. Wow. Yes, that's so true. That's so true. So from one Georgia man to another Georgia man, let me just say, we appreciate you. We thank you for the work that you do. And we look forward to hearing more and more about your success and your endeavors and how you continue to make a difference in the area of cybersecurity and human factors. Thank you so much for joining us today. It has been a pleasure. Please tell our viewers and listeners where they can go to learn more about you and the work you're doing.
Absolutely. I spend most of my time on social media on LinkedIn. Just type in my name, Calvin Nobles. I should pop up right away. And you can find me on Facebook. Just type in my name, Calvin Nobles. I'm there. I'm also on Twitter at Dr. C Nobles. And I'm there.
Well, you guys, you've heard it. Go check him out. Look him up on social media and get into what he's doing. You need to learn more from this man right here. Please be sure to stay connected to the Black Doctoral Network and connect with us on all our social media channels. Thank you for joining us today for the Black Doctors Talk podcast. We hope you will join us again next time. But for now, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and tell a friend.